Welcome to Fan Counters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are back this week with another great guest. But before we tell you who that is, I just want to remind you to go online and communicate with us on Facebook. You can find our fan group there at facebook.com/fancounters. If you're looking to make sure that you know all of the places you can find the show, now obviously you're already listening, but if you're going to switch your podcasting app, if you go to fancounters.com, you'll see all of the places where you can listen to us. And they're easily laid out there for you.
And don't forget to give us an iTunes rating. We really greatly appreciate that from all of our listeners.
Absolutely. And we're always welcoming emails, and you can send those to
hello@fancounters.com.
I always make her do that. Anyway, today on the show, we're welcoming one of my good friends, John Ruckman. Elizabeth, I apologize in advance if this becomes a bro fest.
That's okay. I'm getting used to it.
What do you mean you're getting used to it?
Well, come on. You've had like 3 friends on. I can't help it. You've got, and let me tell you, they have been some pretty cool friends.
Okay, good.
We have had some really good interviews with your Baltimore boys.
Well, this one should be no exception. You might know him from Boardwalk Empire or his role on House of Cards, The Wire, and he just finished filming Law & Order SVU.
Oh, that's such a cool show.
It is. Now, I met John when I lived in Baltimore. Together we made some films, and he played opposite Johnny Alonso, who was a past guest, right?
Yeah.
In Diary of an Ex-Child Star, which I still want you to go and order on Amazon. So just go over there right now. Just go Amazon.com. Okay, Diary of an Ex-Child Star. You see it? Click it. Buy it. Okay, great. And together we also made the movie Zombie Doomsday and another zombie flick.
Wait, you don't want them to go get Zombie Doomsday?
We don't have to talk about that one.
Okay. He's got some great stories to share about fan encounters, and he'll also give us some audition tips from the DVD he hosted called Acting and Auditioning Outside of Hollywood.
Can you believe that I had something to do with that DVD too?
I knew that you did.
Yeah, I'm in it, actually, giving some tips as a director about what we're looking for on set. Because at the time we made that, I was doing a lot of movies. I did 6 feature films during that time when we made that DVD.
Yeah.
So I was a hot item.
You were an up-and-coming working director.
And now I'm not.
And now you're stuck here with me.
I wouldn't call it stuck. Anyway, you can get that DVD, by the way, from John Ruckman called Acting and Auditioning Outside of Hollywood on Amazon. So it's got a lot of great tips. If you're somewhere in America and you're trying to dig yourself a little acting career, that DVD will be for you. Anyway, should we get on to the show?
Yeah, I'm
Stop
excited.
promoting things?
I'm excited to meet him.
All right, great. John Ruckman's up next.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fan Counters, the podcast.
You're amazing. You need to come to Hollywood. I'm going to make you famous.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
There's just like security guards with like M16 holding like fans back.
Are you kidding me?
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God!
I definitely declined signing body parts.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
I'm the only one that's ever spit on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fan Counters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
So, John Ruckman, welcome to Fan Counters.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
No problem. Now, before we start, I want to point out that you're a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, so thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I had a fun time in my early youth in the Air Force, so it was always a fun time.
So we talked in the opening about how we got to know each other and when I was making films in Maryland. And what I learned from you as we created projects together is that most people are not professional actors, but professional auditioners, since the acting life has more auditions than jobs. So have you grown as an actor because of your experiences in the audition room?
You know, it's funny. I think most people change every so often. I would agree with you that an actor's job is getting auditions, getting in a room in front of people that make a difference, getting into the room on projects and, doing movies. But I would have to say that while the experiences in the audition room make me more relaxed, it is I'm a realtor by trade. So it is actually getting on the phones and talking to people day in and day out and changing how I talk to people, which gives me the most experience I could ever have in the audition room. Just more you communicate, the better you become at that. So when I go into the auditioning room, I always, I can adjust how I'm talking to them because of all the experience I've had with talking to people every day.
Before we get to your experience on the set, what was your audition process like for Law and Order SVU?
Process is no different for that show as opposed to any other show that I've auditioned for in New York. Preparation is exactly the same. Usually you get the role 1 or 2 days before the audition. You read through it. You try to mirror something that's happened in your life to that. And this particular audition, it was me getting into a fight with another actor on the set, so it wasn't difficult. I don't know if you've ever seen half a dozen of the other things I've ever done, but usually I'm either fighting or getting bloody or something on set, so it was pretty easy for Law and Order.
Okay.
So what was your experience like from the time you walked on? I'm assuming that with this many seasons of the show, they've got their process nailed down.
We tend to put things on pedestals, and I'm no different. I figured, the golden sunlight would beam through the clouds, and I finally won the lottery on this show. But I have to tell you that Law and Order, as many seasons as it's been on, is probably the most well-oiled machine when it comes to getting things done. Everything is, I arrived on set. I wasn't there 5 seconds. They had me in wardrobe, over to rehearsal. Hey, are you hungry? We'll bring you some food. They brought me some food from craft services. And it was like bing, bam, boom. By the time 1 o'clock rolled around, I was done.
Wow.
Where on other sets, it's like spend 18 hours for the shot. And it was really a well-oiled machine. If I can, the hope here is to get back on future episodes of Law and Order, and I have to tell you, by far is the best set I've ever been on.
So what was your scene like? You did get to work with, and I'm going to get her name wrong because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Mariska Hargitay.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got to work with her, right?
Yeah, I worked with her, and I worked with Dean Winters. It was pretty cool, but I have to tell you, she is no different. She is no different than half a dozen other people I've ever met in person. She's down to earth. She's just like you and I. And if you've, I know Nick can probably attest to this, but I'm kind of goofy. I say goofy things, and I seem to think all the actors I've ever met do exactly the same thing.
Yep.
So first meet, she was kind of goofy, but I'm that way too.
So there are shows that, even though Law and Order seemed to be like a quick audition process, some shows that you've been on have been multiple times going in for the same, maybe not the same role, but the same show. What's it like to do that like a dozen times to get booked once?
On every show, they're looking for something specific, and I think the casting directors, there are a few that just like to throw as many people at a role as they possibly can, and there are some casting directors that when they see a role, they know exactly who to call in. There might be 1 or 2 people that audition for the role. So I blame kind of casting not knowing exactly what they're looking for. Like in particular, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but it did take me 17 times of auditioning to get on House of Cards.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Holy
So
cow.
17 times. So when I finally got that call, and J.P. Barry, he was one that was reading against me for that role, and I ended up booking the role. And again, nice set, but we tend to put things on a pedestal, so when it finally gets delivered to you, it's like, oh, is that what it was really about? And House of Cards set was spot on too. But it was, I put more emphasis on that show, thinking, oh, there must be something special about it. That's why I'm in for 17 times. No, it has nothing to do with any of that. It just has to do with you are right for the role. You booked a role.
So those 17 times were the same role, or were 17 different roles?
Okay, so 17 different roles. Usually I play cops, FBI agents, and in that particular show, it's a lot of federal agents. There's a lot of suits that go along within the presidency, And I read for all of those something that I would have fit, and ultimately I ended up booking a role of a cop. I
Okay.
get those a lot.
Are the same people in the audition room each time, or are you seeing different faces?
No. So just if you know anything about their open call, they see a lot of different people that get on their radar, and I don't believe any one audition in that room I saw the same person twice. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really strange. I made best friends with Matt Mickerson, John Doyle. That's how I met you, Nick, through Tom Townsend, because we're all sort of auditioning for the same roles. So in the low budget independent films, those auditions I usually see the same people over and over again. But with the Law and Orders, House of Cards, Blacklist, Blue Bloods, you name it, I don't ever see the same people twice.
Okay. When did
Yeah.
you first show an interest in acting? When did you get started?
Well, I was a young kid, 1986. I had run into into a church production down here in Bel Air, Maryland, and I ran into the church and the director of they were doing a little show about the nativity scene. So they were doing a whole show based around the nativity scene, and I don't even know what the name of the show was. But as soon as I walked in, the guy's like, "You'll play my Matt." Well, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I knew back when I was about 8, when I used to watch 8 is Enough with Adam Rich, and Adam Rich and I were about the same age, and I said, well, if I'm watching him on TV, he makes it look easy, I know I could do it, and that's when I got into it, when I was about 8. I went home and told my mother that's what I wanted to do, and of course she says, oh, you need to find something you can fall back on. So my dad used to drive a tractor and trailer. I said, well, I'll just drive a tractor and trailer, and I'll be an actor too. So and that's kind of where it went.
Interesting.
Okay.
But you were originally going to pursue criminal justice as a career, right?
Well, yeah. Both going back to criminal justice, I did go to college for criminal justice. In fact, when I was in the Air Force, that's what I did there. I was a police officer there. And it just so happens that when you're a police officer, it doesn't give you a lot of brevity on being able to leave your post or anything like that. And being a truck driver is the same way. So I realized very quickly that I needed to have something that would give me a little bit of leverage as far as being able to make the auditions or being able to take off time. Because I tell you what, your bosses at when they tell you need to drive to Pittsburgh or need to drive out to LA, they don't want to hear, hey, listen, I got to stop for an audition, and the police department definitely doesn't want to hear that. Sorry, Captain, I need to can you take care of this crime today? I need to go audition for something.
Yeah, instead of taking care of that crime, I'm going to go pretend to take care of one over here.
Yeah, over there.
Yeah. You go ahead and let you go today. I know you just robbed the bank, but I have an audition for Law and Order.
Gotta go.
That wouldn't fly.
Oh, that's cute.
You mentioned House of Cards with Kevin Spacey. Did you get to have scenes with Kevin?
Kevin Spacey wasn't around the days that I worked. Robin Wright, the woman who plays his wife, was actually the director, and Jodie Foster was on set those days too.
Oh, that's not a bad list.
With those two. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Kevin.
Okay. Now, Kevin Spacey just got replaced by Christopher Plummer in the movie All the Money in the World, and I went and saw it. I thought it was an excellent movie. Do you think the studio was right to reshoot all those scenes? What do you think about that?
And I always say the same thing. This world loves to boost people up. They love to raise idols and heroes and icons, and they like to put them on a pedestal.
Right.
But the moment that they show their frailty or that they're human or something in their past comes up, they love to rip out the cloth from underneath of them, the table out from underneath of them, and then everybody wants to punch them on the way down. Was the studio right for replacing him? I think the studio was trying to save face. I realized Kevin Spacey. I realized that this had something to do with a 14-year-old boy who is now, and he's now a big-time actor. I think he was in the next Star Trek or something like that, but I don't really remember following that along. But I think the studio was just trying to save face with what popular opinion was dictating them to do. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the studio is about making money and selling tickets and putting people in the seats. And if someone like Kevin Spacey came along and it's a business, it's show business. So it's Kevin Spacey's fan base was beating him up, and I guess they felt like keeping him in the movie was going to cost them more money than what it would have cost to reshoot those scenes.
Makes sense. Now, I actually saw the trailer of that movie with Kevin Spacey still in it.
We did. And then we saw another one with the new actor.
Yeah. So.
With Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, it doesn't. They can do it right. It doesn't take much. And I'd almost assure you that Christopher Plummer was probably their second choice. Kevin Spacey was their first choice. He was available, and then Christopher Plummer was probably up for the same role. And they may have even shot some test scenes with both of those guys. So it probably was very easy to switch. I mean, Michael J. Fox wasn't the original actor they had cast in Back to the Future. It was Eric Stoltz.
I remember that.
It doesn't take much to switch around.
In fact, on the DVD, when you buy the anniversary edition, they have the scenes with the other Marty McFly. Some of the ones that they had shot earlier. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
So I read an interview when I was doing some research for this interview. Before you filmed an episode of HBO's Boardwalk Empire, and you talked about your upcoming role as one of Mickey Doyle's henchmen. Now, you had mentioned that you weren't going to get killed in the episode so the chances for a reoccurring role might happen. So now that we're years later, did that come true? Did you get to do more than one?
So what they did, it did come true. However, they ended up using a photo double.
No.
So they ended up using a photo double. A guy that looked like me, wearing my clothes, same thing, walked in through the rest of that season, and he ended up getting killed at the end. And the reason why they did that is because if you hired me to walk through the rest of the season, they'd have to pay me a tremendous amount of money to do that. I mean, weekly, and season, it's a lot more money than what they paid me. And the guy that they got to do it only, he gets, I don't know, $147 a day. So it was, when it came down to money sense, that's why they did what they did. So yes, it came true, but it's my photo double, not me.
Oh man, how did that make you feel?
I
You
know,
got to
right?
feel gypped for that.
Don't tell any of the secrets I'm telling here today, but that's what happens. Yeah, if they'll use photo doubles, or that's pretty much what they didn't want to pay so they'll use a photo double. Very true.
That stinks.
So last year you enjoyed.
That's all right.
Last year you enjoyed roles on two shows: Reels Network Copycat Killers and ID Discovery's show What Really Happened. Both shows depict reenactments of real life events. What was the process for auditioning for those roles, and is it different than auditioning for fictional characters?
Boy, that's a good question. So I would have to say that my process is the absolute same for any character I do. That I've done so many of these different characters that if they're looking for somebody who's a bad guy, while there isn't a budget to go talk to, I played James Cushing on What Really Happened. There's not a budget to go to his prison and talk to him and get the feel. So what I did is I went out onto the internet and tried to see some of the tapes that they had of this guy interviewing along the way. I think it was in South Carolina or something like that. And just kind of to get the feel for how he was. And then what I do is if I can figure out what his MO is, I can then go to other characters that I've seen in the past within that process. But my process is really no different between film or these ID Discovery shows at all. I mean, it's still me.
So do they film these reenactment shows with just one camera?
I've been on sets where they had the one camera, and then they're doing GoPros around, and then they had like the red on some of the stuff. So it just depends on the production. I've been in rooms where they had multiple cameras. I ended up I decided to do some background a long time ago for the first episode of Veep, and on that show they used 3 cameras in that room, and so my little character couldn't escape the camera at all.
So on Fan Counters, we love hearing stories about what it's like when celebrities meet fans. So what kind of experience have you had with fans?
I had an odd one happen a long time ago. And now, if you've seen my stuff, I'm kind of a big guy. I weigh 240-ish, 235-ish, 240-ish. And I had this guy run up to me and bear hug me. Now, I don't know what that would do for you, but for me, it was kind of, I was like creeped out. I'm like, why is this guy bear hugging me? That was one, and then there are other times.
What did he say when he bear hugged you?
I was going to say, did he say anything, or is he just coming straight at you?
Oh no, he was big smile on his face. He bear hugged me, and I'm like, and I was in a restaurant when it happened, and I'm like, okay, and I was with my mother. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? And and while we're eating, he's like smiling at me and all this other stuff, and my mom's like, oh, he's special. Don't worry about him. Well, at the end of that, he finally says, I just saw blah, 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 blah. It was a commercial I had done or something. I just saw that commercial. The moment I walked in, and here you walked in, oh, my God, it's so happy to see you. And that happened, and then I have people who have seen, the episodes of the ID Discovery. They've seen Boardwalk Empire. Most of the time, it's people I know. However, on occasion, I had another one, too. I did a commercial. It was like, the more you know.
Okay.
And it was about underage drinking. And as you know, as I said earlier, I'm a realtor, and they aired this right before the big realtor convention down at Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh no!
And here I am, and all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. Did you really get pulled over? Are you really having a problem with drinking? Can I help? I mean, it's like 100 phone calls just like that. I'm like, no, I'm an actor. This was a commercial. But yeah, I get the people, they look at me funny at the restaurants. It upsets my wife because my wife is like, I'll be sitting someplace and some woman will be looking at me or something, and they'll think they know me. I mean, I'm no Brad Pitt, but they see me from someplace, and they're like, they know me from someplace, so they're kind of like staring at me, looking across the table. And my wife's like, why the hell is this woman staring at you? And I'm like, well, maybe I'm like, don't you recall that I'm on TV? Maybe they saw something someplace.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and we all spend that time staring at you going, why do I know you? Are you in the gym with me? Do you go to the same grocery store?
Yeah.
Why do I know you?
Oh, yeah. So, and I get that a lot of places where people always give me double looks and stuff. They can't quite place where they know me, but yeah.
I just showed Elizabeth your picture. She's like, pull him up. I need to see
I'm like, pull up the picture. I need to see what he looks like now.
Oh, and I have another experience, too. This is kind of crazy. So, guy on Facebook, a big Facebook guy, fan, and he's homosexual. Not that I have any problems with any of that, but then he's like, he's talking to me on Facebook. Yeah, okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Great. Then all of a sudden he started inviting me to all those alternative web Facebook pages. You scroll through Facebook, all of a sudden these things are hitting my Facebook page. My kid's just standing beside me. I'm like, oh, what the hell is this? So unfortunately, I had to block him, and then I had to go through and I had to delete myself from all those groups. It was horrible.
Oh,
so that was another experience.
Yeah, because you can invite people to the groups, and probably with the selective advertising, it's like, you also might like this.
Right, yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't like any of that.
Oh, God.
Well,
that was hilarious, so.
Just be happy that it was a drunk driving commercial for that PSA and not like some ED commercial or something like that you did. And they're like, then,
Oh, yeah.
Can I help you with that?
My wife always tells me that, she says, because we watch TV all the time, and I said, man, that is like the stupidest commercial. And she's like, if they had a hemorrhoid commercial and they told you had to smear this stuff all over your butt, you'd be up there doing it, wouldn't you? I'm like, how much does it pay?
How much does it pay? You betcha, baby.
That's good. You've also, so those are good fan stories. You've also worked with several stars, often having your own fan experiences with them. So if you think back to working, you did mention the Law and Order thing, but even Robin Wright, Steve Buscemi, Aidan Gillen. What encounters stick out to you as being most memorable?
I did just the recent one. Mariska was acting kind of goofy first thing in the morning. We were going over rehearsals in the room, and she pantomime elbowed me in the head and fist punching me in the crotch. I was like, where did that come from? Yeah, it was just really strange. But again, I'm a goofy guy, so when I get kind of in stranger situations, I might act out a little differently, just trying to break the ice.
Sure.
I think I think, Nick, you've probably seen that with me.
I was
where
going to say,
get-
you're really
I'm like,
good at making
Um,
everybody feel comfortable, which is why you were a really good film producer, because you can make everyone feel welcome on set, and it
Oh,
just
yeah.
shows, your passion shows through your personality.
There you go. I like that.
There you go. So
Yeah,
during,
so
go ahead.
I'm trying to think of anything else that I've encountered with the actors. I mean, it's I know Robin Wright. She was on set with her boyfriend, and forgive me, I don't remember who he is. And I said, "Oh, isn't that Aaron Paul? From Breaking Bad?" And this guy, I think his name's Dean something or other. She was dating, but yeah, she's like, no, it's not Aaron Paul, but he gets that a lot. But he doesn't like that. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said I was going to ask him for an autograph for my kid, but it wasn't him. It wasn't Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad.
So during our time together, we created a DVD called Acting and Auditioning Outside of Hollywood, where you gave tips to actors all over the United States on how to succeed in their local market. What do you think is the most important piece of advice that aspiring actors need to hear?
It's kind of twofold here. First is, if this is what you want to do, if this is what you need to do on a day-to-day basis, don't give up. Don't stop and don't give up. And the other thing you need to know is be yourself. I know we hear that all the time, but just be yourself. Don't act like a boss. Don't act, just be yourself. Do the dialogue as yourself, and don't give up, and things will eventually come your way. That's it. I know it's a cliche, be yourself and don't give up, but it really is the truth. Now, if this is what you have to do, don't give up.
Right, and just keep pursuing it. Same thing with this show. As much advertising as we do, we'll never get as many listeners as we want to have, but it's just the daily grind of putting it out there, putting yourself out there, and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You don't give up. You do, okay, so being an actor, boom. It looks like it's a monumental task. But really, it's overwhelming. If you look at it from the very beginning, you're like, oh my God, how do I ever do this? Just like your show. How do we ever gain this audience? And you know what? It's one little thing at a time. It's one little thing daily that you do that creates the biggest results. And I think Darren Hardy has it. It's compound effect. That's it. One little thing that you do daily that will create over a year's time would create a lasting effect. I mean, if you wanted to write a book, I mean, the monumental, hey, I'm looking at the binder, I'm looking at the book, I'm looking at 800 pages here. Well, if you wrote one page a day in a year's time, you'd have 365 pages.
That's right.
So it's just a little thing you do every day. Yeah. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I say that to my kids all the time. I have it embroidered on things, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
So Nick keeps telling me about Zombie Doomsday, which is an improv movie shot in one night that you made together. I tend to think of improv as something that you associated with actors on a theater. Have you had any stage roles?
Oh, yeah. So back in '86 when I started, that was all theater. Over 30 years I've been doing it. Wow, has it been 30 years? Yeah. Wow, 30
You
years.
don't wanna admit
Jesus,
that.
when it just rolls over the tongue. I have done so many different theater productions. And you actually get to the point where you're looking for, because everything's the same, you're looking for that challenge. So when somebody goes off the track, as far as their dialogue, you're always trying to get them back on track, but you got to stay within character and you got to stay within what the period piece is doing. So yeah, the improv that helps. Being able to think on your feet is very important as far as theater actors are concerned. But it's also, I'm here to tell you, Law and Order was a lot of improv too. There was a whole stage fight there, and there was a lot of improv between Dean Winters and I, and thank God I had that experience with the improv, because if not, most people would probably have frozen up at that point. Well, what do I do? And then it would have all been canned and looked stagey. So
All right.
I meant to ask you before, was that fight done outside, or were you on a set inside?
No, so it was done up in Harlem there was a bar, if you remember the movie The Other Guys with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
it's kind of hard, like a frame freeze picture in the middle of that film of where they are at a bar and they're dumping beer on each other, and Will Ferrell's peeing off the pool table and all that stuff.
Yep.
Well, my scene was shot in that bar.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Just a little podunk bar in the middle of Harlem. And so it was actually in that bar. And it's funny because time waits for no man. They only had the bar at a certain point before they could they had to open up for business. So those people are still in business. And this particular one wasn't actually at the Law and Order building on Chelsea Piers. So it was just fun, real fun.
Do you know?
And of course, it got a lot of attention too.
Yeah. Do you know when the episode's going to air?
February 28th.
Hey, all right. So right after we air this episode, you can catch John Ruckman on Law and Order SVU. Awesome. February 28th.
Yeah, there you go. I appreciate the plug.
So which do you prefer, theater or TV and film?
Well, first off, you don't get paid a lot of money in theater.
No.
And it takes a long time to put theater together. So at this point I like TV and film because it's quick medium. You get in, get out, move on to the next thing, and you get paid pretty decently for it. I did do Medieval Times a few years ago. I worked Medieval Times as the Lord Chancellor for a year, and doing the same thing day in and day out was crazy. I got really bored with it really quick. So
yeah, because you're kind of.
I would prefer film and TV.
I've never attended a Renaissance festival. Have you?
Yes.
Isn't it like weird with people just talking like we're not living in the medieval times? So all this conversation is nonsense. I mean, did you feel that way, John?
Well, of course. Everybody's speaking with the British accent because it's medieval times. Yes. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And of course, the actors, when they come up to the people walking through the crowd, it's off-putting.
Yeah.
And then everybody that wants to talk to you wants to put on a fake British accent. And talk to you like that. It's weird.
Nice.
But I did it.
That whole thing.
But I have that experience. So that's always good. Life is about experiences,
Yeah.
You can never have too many.
That's for sure. We had an experience. So the Zombie Doomsday Project, because the film was really unique, let's just talk about it for a few moments. Let's plug it. And you produced the project and you starred in it. That's probably a rare thing, especially on the level that we're talking about, being, not a lot of people, unless you're some big A-list star, you're not producing and starring in a film. So is this a project that you ended up being proud of, or do you wish that it didn't exist anymore? It's
another learning experience.
That's a nice way of saying it was gone.
If I were Tom Hanks and had his money and be able to produce the way I would have wanted to, then I would have had the ability to actually star in it too, and been happy with that. I'm not saying I'm dishappy with it. There was a little too much at that point for me. It was bigger than I was. I mean, I was happy to have you, Nick. I was happy to have Tom. But if I were to do it over again, I would probably focus in on just being the producer, working behind the scenes, and not starring in it, because there are a lot of things I couldn't control being in front of the film, in front of the camera, that I wish I could have. One of the things was, I invited way too many people.
Yes,
I thought
you
I
did.
was giving back. I thought I was giving back to the acting community as a whole to somehow legitimize myself. And I come to realize that a lot of those actors aren't the best at improv, and the only thing they know how to do while they're improving is say the F-bomb.
Oh,
yeah, there's a lot of that.
I'm sure when Nick was editing that film, all of a sudden that's what he's saying. He said, "Man, I can't hardly use anything because everything is the F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb." I'm like, phew. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I would still have done it.
Yeah,
It was
maybe
fun.
just
It was
a
a fun
few
little project.
less people, because of what was hard about it was the fact that because there was so many people, getting people's individual stories captured and really digging in a little bit was difficult because there was so many players, and each one had to be featured, because otherwise you're like, why are they there? And
yeah,
that was challenging.
I invited way too many people, man. I'm sorry, I really did. I tried to get everybody involved, and I was like, I mean, we had some good people there, but I think if we ever decide to do it again, Nick, if I can get you back out here,
Less
I
is
think
more.
Less is more.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there
Less
you
is
go.
more.
Now, one of the awesome things about this film, for those of you who haven't seen it, and judging by the sales, you haven't, is the fact that the actors in the film didn't know what was going to happen. Now, John, Tom, and I sat at my house, and we created everything that we were going to do to these people, because it was a zombie outbreak happening to people at a diner. And so they were trapped inside and that kind of thing. But then we also threw some things at them that were a surprise. And before we go into the biggest surprise of the film, because nothing was a surprise to you, John, since you knew everything, I know that you're a professional actor and everything, but did it hurt the improv part to you for those things not to be thrown at you, that you knew that they were coming?
No, actually, there isn't a situation you can't throw at me that I can't come up with something. I've been doing it that long. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn and I'm all that in a bag of chips. But when you've done this long enough, no matter what somebody throws at you, whether they know it or not, because even those guys, even that being thrown at me, there was still some things in there that, you know, I could use and make it look real and all that.
Yeah, because you can't control other people's behavior, and what they're going to come up with is unknown.
Yeah, well, they came up with something completely different. That's true. So,
so the biggest part of the movie is when two guys come in with guns and want to rob the diner, and they basically threaten everybody. And they didn't know, like the actors did not know if this was a real holdup or not. Now, we told everybody everything you're going to experience tonight is put on by us, but when you get in the middle of a scene, two guys coming in saying, everybody get down, you know, and they want to hold up the place. Do you think we crossed the line by sending guys with guns in, robbing the place in the middle of a movie and not telling anybody?
Oh, I'm sure we crossed the line, dude. But it was funny as hell because, I mean, at the time, these people were crapping their pants, but that's the reaction. That was probably the most real acting we saw the whole time in the whole thing.
I completely agree.
What those guys freaking out about. And it was Kelvin Drama and Nelson Azaria who were the robbers. But, yeah, just...
Yeah, the best part of the movie...
that was funny.
And it's featured prominently. We had an older guy, Elizabeth, doing this movie with us. He was kind of shooting behind the scenes. He wasn't supposed to be in any of the shots, but there's a behind-the-scenes part in that I point out every time he's accidentally in the shot. But anyway, he invited his son there to run sound. And he didn't tell his son anything that was happening. And so the sound guy's right by me because I'm running the camera. I'm the camera guy in the movie. And his reaction is so real. His wide eyes and like, oh, my God, are we going to die tonight? Because he really thought it was
Thought
real.
that you were being robbed.
He was so mad at his dad for like over a week. Yeah, that was...
Yikes.
See, that was the best part of that movie. So,
Along with your major television roles, you've done many independent films. What film was the most fun to work on?
I would say Zombie Doomsday was probably the most energetic film we worked on because it was so much, so quickly. I'd have to put that right up there as probably the top one. It was a fun project.
I'm shaking my head. I can't even believe he just said that.
I think he said it because he's on our show.
Yeah, that could be.
Because Nick Bailey's the best. No, actually, if I look back at everything I've done, I think that's probably the most fun I've had.
Okay, not mentioning that one, have you done other projects that once they aired, maybe even on TV, or you saw these independent movies come out and you're like, holy crap, why did I sign up for this thing? Have there been moments like that for you?
There's been a couple of things I've done. I went, what? Oh, really?
What was
Why the hell
thinking?
did I do that? Only because the way they edited made me look like a complete douche. But or maybe it's just my acting. I don't know.
No, I'm sure it's not that. So you've got this thing on YouTube, and I can't figure out the... John, I'm going to be blunt with you. I can't figure out the point. It's like a redneck, spoofy kind of show. Tell us about what we're going for here.
Cooters and Skids. Yeah. They're always in the woods looking for Bigfoot. I think, didn't we do a film there where you're looking for Bigfoot too?
We did a ghost movie, looking for ghosts.
Yeah, we did a ghost one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, anyway.
That one
I had a gentleman come to me, and he's big within the Bigfoot community. Had a couple of ideas, and you know, I I always have to be doing something. And I said, yeah, you know what? If I have control over it and stuff like that, we can make it work. So we did a couple of episodes. They're on YouTube, and I just playing around with the character. And I think what we've done has turned out pretty cool. It's funny, very quick and very funny.
Right,
so
that's what I like about it.
Punchline. I mean, it's like a joke in the punchline.
So there's not going to be any more of those?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just depends on. We have a couple in the can that he hasn't edited yet.
Okay.
And I only have so many ideas. But what the problem we're running into with that is that again, I'm producing, I'm starring, and I'm directing. I'm using my camera, my sound. So it kind of gets redundant because there's really a lot of work there. If we could get a few more people involved, it would be fun to be able to just think about nothing more than just starring in it.
Right.
That would be cool.
So you've got some other projects coming out, real projects. You are doing a short film that has a Stephen King connection. Can you tell us about that? So
there's a local author here in Maryland. His name's Richard Chismar. He actually just did an adaptation with Stephen King called Gwendolyn's Box. So he's real good friends with Stephen King. I mean, they hang out. They go to the Boston Red Sox games and all that. And he's a good friend of mine. So this going kind of into the path is this business is a lot about who you know. And Richard and I have always talked about doing something together. And it just so happens that goal is going to be met this Saturday night when I'm shooting a short with him called The Murder House.
Mm.
This is cool. I did that, so it's kind of more of a credited cameo. I play a guy named Frank Caravan, and so this short is to be promoted, and then all of a sudden I'm attached to the Widow's Box. Oh my God, what's the Widow's Point? Widow's Point, that's it.
Okay.
And that is a film that John's attached to as well, and that's going to be shooting in June. Another long-term goal. When I first got into the business, Jonathon Sheck had already been in the business for a while when I got in. And my goal, because we all went to high school together, was just to do a film with him. And that goal is actually going to be reached this June. So that's
very
pretty
cool. Yeah, Jonathon Sheck, he's best known for... He's got some big roles, but none of them are coming to me now.
Lead singer in that Thing You Do with Tom Hanks.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. And he's a Baltimore guy.
He's done some pretty cool stuff too.
Most actors don't have a recurring role on a series, but they do indeed have 9 to 5 jobs. And luckily, you've found some success in the real estate world, which allows you a lot of flexibility to focus on your acting career. And you recently wrote a book called For Sale and Sold. Tell us about it.
A lot of times as you're going along in life, you get the same questions over and over and over and over again. So basically my book, For Sale, For Sold, is just a little like table read, quick, go to the bathroom and read this. And it's just all the questions I've ever been given and gotten are in that book. So that way, if they wake up in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden they're buying a house, and they wake up in the middle of the night with buyer cold sweats, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, and they're hyperventilating. Usually, if they just pick up the book and read it, it'll be the questions that are answered will be in that book. So it's just a little something I put together, and then.
Are you selling it, or where can people find that book?
A lot of times you can't get the book because I would have to give you the book. See, I read it and I wrote it, and then I put it all together, and I have it here. So if like somebody comes up to me, the sole purpose here of this book was to give it to people instead of a business card. You give them a business card, it falls to the bottom of the purse. When they clean out the purse or they change purses, the business card usually goes in the trash. With the book, it usually has a longer shelf life. It sits on their shelf. They look at it. Oh, yeah, I remember this book. So if they want to get my book, all they have to do is go to Facebook and type in my name because I'm all over the place, and I will gladly send them a book for free.
Fantastic.
Well, that's nice. Jonathon Ruckman, look him up. What other projects do you have going on? Anything else coming up?
Well, it's two things with Richard Chismar and Jonathon Sheck right at the meeting. But, next week is another week. I'll probably get an audition for something, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just sent out tape for Geico. That was today. So thank God we can now send out tape. It used to be you couldn't send out tape. But now everything's tape. I got a little studio here, send it out.
Okay.
Yeah, constantly busy.
So instead of actually going in person, you're sending them a little blurb. Do they tell you what they want you to blurb about?
Yeah. So a lot of times they'll send me, like today they sent me a quick script in the email. They said, "Hey, we'd like you to audition for this. Can you take a look at it? Put a little, do the tape just like I would if I went into a New York casting company and did it there. I'd say my name and everything, and then send them the tape. If they're interested, they hire me, and that's where the world's going. Because when I first started this business, there was no send tape; it was drive everywhere. So.
Well, and I've seen movies of people just sitting in rooms waiting to be called. Is that how it was? That you would just be sitting with like 25 other people that sort of look like you or fit that same build or kind of thing?
Yeah, so when I first started, I think I was only local to Baltimore, okay? And the big casting company was Pat Moran. She's still a big casting company. And what she was very particular. If she wanted you for something, it was usually you and a couple of other guys. I did do an open call a long time ago, and I promised myself I would never do another open call. That's where you have lines and lines and lines and lines of people going around the building. So you can go in there for 3 seconds, get your picture taken. House of Cards does a lot of open calls down in Baltimore, and usually my friends and family are like, there's a popular political drama, because they don't call it House of Cards. Popular, just as of yesterday, somebody was telling me, they got looking for firefighters for this show. I'm like, yeah, it was my brother telling me that. I'm like, yeah, it's House of Cards. It's an open call, but I have a roll on it already. I don't need to go stand in an open call line. But short answers to the long question you just gave me. No. Long answers to the short question you gave me is, I've been in rooms where there are like 5 other guys that look like me.
Okay. But now it's just easier to just send in the tape.
Yeah, so usually I send in the tape. If I get a call back, then I'll go in, and it might be between me and 3 other guys. But it really eliminates a lot of the first time you go into the room. I can't imagine not being able to do that now.
And these are all digital? You're sending it digitally?
You send it via email or WeTransfer, any one of those.
And what are you doing to stay fresh in acting? Like, do you still take classes or training or anything like that?
No matter what you do in life, you're doing a podcast, and I'm sure your Facebook feed is filled with coaches who will tell you how to do podcasts. Real estate and acting is no different. Every day without fail, I'm getting hundreds of emails and stuff about increasing your acting percentages. I mean, I get bombarded with Facebook posts and stuff about take this class, take that class. If something comes up, I work all the time, on this project, that project. So usually if I'm going through a long rut of not working, I will take a class. Usually I'll go to Studio Bo, which is Ken Arnold's classes down out of Columbia. That's a weekly thing. But most of the time I can't even make those because I'm busy doing something within the show business world. I work weekly. It's good.
Awesome. Well, this has been fascinating, John. Thanks so much for joining us.
And if you don't mind, let me plug something else here.
Oh, please do.
I am the face. If you go to, I have a public persona called John Q. Rhodes on Facebook. I am the face of the Delaware State Highway Administration, and they're a big anti-distracted driving guy, and they have taken so many pictures of me. So I'm like this big campaign they're using for the state. So if you want, go check it out. You'll see all the pictures of me you'll ever want to see, and it's kind of spoofy, so they've done some unique comedy stuff with this guy. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen this stuff, and I start laughing my butt off because I'm like, oh, I remember that picture, and I can't believe they're using it like that.
Nice.
How long ago did you do that?
It's ongoing, so I'm under a year contract with them. Took some pictures 3 months ago, just took some more pictures a couple of days ago. Some live events they made. If you go onto, I have to send you a picture, but they actually they put my head on a T-shirt.
Are you serious? I'm looking at this page right now.
Can you imagine going to an event where 150 people are wearing your head on a T-shirt? I felt like a rock star.
Nice.
That's awesome. So, guys, this is John Q. Rhodes. So it's spelled John Q, obviously, and then Rhodes. And you can also find it, it looks like on Twitter at Rhodes Defender is the name. So that's that's pretty cool.
Fun little project that puts my face everywhere now. So
I love it.
Yes, but it's still a good message to buckle up and to stop texting while driving.
Yeah, And that's what I told them, too. I said, look, we're having fun here, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if we can help people and save lives, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
If we can get the Wisconsin State Highway Administration to adopt my little character, have all the states adopt that little character, I'd be living life.
So let's be real about your home life here, because we know, since we just talked about devices and distracted driving, that can be an issue. But also, it's an issue, and I am guilty of this myself, of being on my phone too much at home, to where my kids are like, can you pay attention here? Because I'm like, well, hold on, I just got to send this email and that kind of thing. Now, you've got two very busy lives going. You have an acting career, which you have to keep up with agents and casting directors and things like that. But then you're also dealing with clients constantly. And obviously, real estate's busy on the weekends. So how do you balance these two careers and your kids? Because you've got two young kids, so that they're not constantly saying, Dad, we never see you. We see more of John Q. Rhodes than you.
Oh, yeah. Well, my kids, Nick, are now 16 and 12. They're both at the age where the last thing they want to do is hang out with dear old Dad, unless they're hungry, of course. Then they want to go with me. But at this point in my life, they'd rather hang out with their friends and doing their thing. But we try to make time. We make sure that everybody eats dinner together. We make sure that we go on vacation times, and we're always doing things together on a weekend. So that's how we keep it straight. But you're right. There have been times when they're like, Dad, 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 Dad. And I'm like doing podcasts or answering emails or selling houses or something, man. And they're like, ugh. And you get kind of like wound up with all that stuff, and you're like, and then you got to realize, you know what? Let's just walk away from this stuff for a little bit, spend some time with them, because they won't stay young forever.
Very true.
They won't.
All right, well, where can we find you on social media? Where can we follow you?
All right, so you can find me on Facebook at Facebook//J Ruckman, or you can find me on Twitter at TitanJB8 on Twitter.
All right, very cool. Well, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it, John. Talk to you soon.
Very nice to meet you.
No problem. Be a pleasure meeting you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Our thanks to John Ruckman for being on the program. I'm sure he'll hopefully still talk to me after this experience.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
Now, next week, let's talk about that show real quick, because next week is a milestone for us. It's a small one, but we're celebrating 25 episodes next week.
Yay!
Which is a lot. I mean, if you think this is like 6 months now of our life that we've been able to do this show, thanks to you, our listener. And we're going to give you a synopsis of all of the best moments from the first 24 shows that we've done.
Yes. I'm super excited to take a look back.
So it's going to be a fan counter smash up, and we've got a couple behind the scenes stories which we will share along the way.
Oh, cool.
So it's going to be fun. So join in next week for our 25th fan counter show, and it's going to be all about the fan counters that our celebrity guests have had. And in 2 weeks, we're going to welcome Janet Varney, very funny lady. If you've watched the Nickelodeon animated show The Legend of Korra, she's the voice of Korra.
Cool.
She's also been on lots of TV shows. Emmy-nominated series Burning Love. She was on Entourage, Stand Against Evil, You're the Worst, all of those great shows. And she is the co-founder of the San Francisco Sketch Fest, which just ended at the end of January.
Oh,
so we're going to find all about that in 2 weeks.
Cool.
Yeah, so lots of fun stuff coming up here at Fan Counters. Thanks again for joining us.
And as always, have a great week.
Have a great week.
Bye.